What's up, everybody? My name is David Setta. I'm the youth pastor here at Life Church 360, and today I get to interview somebody very special to me, my father-in-law. And so this is going to be an awesome interview, just to get to hear his heart. And ever since I met him, Ben was just a very hard person to deal with. On the job force, at home, because I worked for him. Later on, I started dating his daughter, who I'm now married to. And so it was just kind of a really hard time just dealing with that. And I just love Ben's story and just his transformation and what God has done in his heart and in his life. And to watch him be able to lead his family spiritually now is incredible. And it was something that I prayed for, my wife prayed for. And so, Ben, I just kind of want to hear your story, like with your upbringing. I know your upbringing wasn't easy. And just go from the beginning, kind of how you got where you're at now.
So I came from a divorced family. My mom and dad got divorced when I was about 11 or 12. And I kind of went with my mom's side at first, and then I went to my dad's side. Ended up living on a couch on a buddy's house, because couldn't really get along with either one of them. My parents both were heavy drinkers. So anyways, that was kind of the beginning of it, and I think there was a lot of anger in there because of the divorce and that kind of stuff. So when I got into high school, drugs and alcohol, that seemed to ease the pain. Want to be the cool guy with everybody else, so got into drugs and alcohol. A lot of anger. They called me the window guy because if I was angry with somebody, I would punch you out through the window of your car. That's just how I was. And so, anyways, from there, my dad got into church out in Monroe when I was right after the divorce, I think. And so I had a little bit of bringing up through the Christian understanding, but I didn't know anything about it. I didn't care. So from there, we went a little fast forward a little bit. I'm getting a little bit older. Still in trouble, partying, doing whatever I want to do, because my dad didn't care. He was never there. And so I ended up, living with him, like I said, off and on. But with him, it was great because I could go to parties, I could do whatever I wanted to, and he didn't really care. So my mom got remarried to a friend of his, Carol, who's my stepdad. And him and I learned more through life through him than my real father. My real father and I have a weird dynamic. I came up in a life that had money. I mean, my dad had money. He worked his butt off, and he made a lot of money, and so I'd say we were kind of privileged to a point. But what I realized later, what I realize now, is that money meant everything to him. Family didn't mean anything to him. And so I got a different perspective from my stepdad, and then I started working with him. And his perspective was more of family-oriented. Money doesn't matter. I'll work, 9 to 5 and do my thing. And so I learned more about being a man from him, but I still had this anger building in me because my father, money was more important. So he didn't show up for any of my sporting events and any of that kind of stuff. So when I had kids, I wanted to make it, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be there for everything because it was something that I didn't get. So anyways, back in, I believe it was 1999, my stepbrother was killed. That's Carol's son. And him and I were buddies. We were, we grew up together. We did everything together, so we had a really good relationship. And at the time this all happened, the day that it happened, I remember I was at the hospital, and I wasn't a God believer. I didn't believe, I knew that there was a Holy Spirit somewhere, but I didn't care. It just didn't affect me. And when he died, a lot of questions came up. Tim was he was one of those good kids. He didn't drink. He did, occasionally at times when he got older, but he wasn't a partier. So I had this question of why him? Why not me? You know, and at this time I was married, and I had Kaylana was, I want to say she was 3 years old or so, and Trenton was a year old maybe. And so I had all these questions about why him and not me. He was the good kid, I was the bad kid. But then there was an underlying understanding in my, or something in the back of my brain that said, there's got to be a God, because he's got to have a bigger purpose for this guy that was such a good kid, you know. So anyways, I carried that pain for a long time, and every day I was working with my stepdad and watching him go through that pain and going through it with him, and knowing that neither one of us were men, so we can't, you know, vent or cry or do anything. So anyways, you know, we got through that. Even today, to talk about it, it's just a real sensitive subject for me. Anyways, so getting a little bit older, you know, I got kids now, and got a job, started my own company, and I started falling in the same trap as what my dad was. Money wasn't an object. I was extremely wealthy at the time, and it took me losing everything I had and starting over again to realize again that money doesn't make a person. It frustrated me because I had fallen in the trap that I said I would never be. And I saw it a little bit, but I didn't recognize it quite as much as I do today. So anyways, we're doing okay. We lose everything. We get back up on our feet. The kids are doing good. But no matter what I ever had in life, there's just this emptiness inside of me, and I didn't know what it was. You know, when people make money, they think, I need to make more money because that emptiness is what I need to fill up. Or, you know, you find toys or things, cars, boats, whatever, and that isn't it. And fast forwarding a little bit more, when my son started going to, ever since he was little, he hung out with your brother Benny, and they'd go to church all the time. And he started up with Life Church 360, and he was deep into the church, and my daughter, you know the whole story about Kaylana, and her bad relationship and the church brought her in. And around this time, I'm feeling, my whole perspective of life was, be a good person, you're gonna go to heaven, you know, do good things, and I did that, but it still wasn't enough. And then when the kids started coming regularly, Debbie, my wife, she started coming. And the thing that really changed was, you know, they kept telling me, come on in, come on in, come on in. Well, my son and daughter, Trenton and Kaylana, decided they want to get baptized. So, Dad, would you go? Well, this is something I can't miss. Even though I don't go to church, and it wasn't that I was against Christ or against God or any of that. It was the fact that I didn't like organized religion because it meant money and this and that. I just had a twisted vision of what it was.
And you actually told us that if you walked in the building, you'd catch on fire.
Yeah, that day, your mom, it was at the baptism, and your mom goes, Ben, you're here. And I go, yeah, they didn't even catch on fire. So I come here, and you know, it was a strange feeling. I come here, I feel good, felt good about myself, and I walk in and there's coffee. I tell the story all the time. I walk in and there's a coffee shop. Why is there a coffee shop at church? And then I go sit down, and Pastor Matt goes up there and he starts preaching, and I'm looking at this guy, and he's got shorts and flip-flops on. And I'm like, am I in church? What's going on here? And between the music and the preaching and everything, I just felt like he was talking to me. You know, I wouldn't go every week, but I'd go every now and then with the wife. I mean, Dad would come here with the kids, and I wouldn't come. But then there's times that I would come, and every time I'd be here, it's like he's in my head talking to me. And it was focused on me, and I just couldn't figure out what was going on. And then but my heart was being tugged on, and so slowly but surely, I started coming more regularly, and they were doing the Nicaragua trip the first year or the second year or whatever it was, and that was 2 years ago. And I got home on Sunday, and Deb leaves, the kids are gone, and I'm sitting around the house, and I just felt something just overwhelm me that says, you got to go on a mission trip. You're going on a mission trip, and you're going with your family.
Come on.
I'm like, okay. So Deb comes home, and I go, we're going on a mission. And she goes, what? I'm like, I don't know. I can't explain why. I just, we're going. Mm-hmm. And so, unfortunately, and I wasn't saved at the time. I didn't give my life to Christ. I wasn't baptized, but he just told me to do it, and felt good to do it, and that's what I'm gonna do. So, but unfortunately, that one got canceled because of the uprising.
Yeah.
But I still started focusing more towards coming here every weekend, and how I felt when I did, and that this is kind of where I wanted to be, and this wasn't like a normal church, and you know, it started warming up to me a little bit, you know, and so eventually I became a regular attender, and one day, just out of the blue, and I always said that when if I'm going to give my life to Christ, at this time, if I give my life to Christ, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to be a Christian like people talk about, that, oh yeah, they do all this horrible stuff, but on Sunday they're okay. I didn't want to be that guy. So I wanted to understand it more. And so one Sunday, I just gave my life to Christ. It just overwhelmed me to do it, and I wanted to do it, so I did. And the next Nicaragua trip comes up, and I'm like, okay, if you wanted me to go the first time, I'll go this time. Yeah. And it was probably a big turning point in my life as far as understanding God, because I went to a place that I felt completely uncomfortable. 3 years prior, my daughter's Kehlani's going to Honduras.
Yeah.
And I remember when she talked about going, she goes, I want to go on this mission trip, and I'm like, you're on your own. I ain't paying nothing. I ain't helping you. I don't believe in it. And we had this conversation over dinner at the Chinese restaurant. She goes, Dad, you know, other countries, and I had this whole philosophy about, let's fix the people here. Yeah. Let's fix the people in the community. To heck with the other people, you know, we need it. And then fast forward 2 years, and here I'm the guy willing to do whatever it takes, you know, on a mission trip. Mm-hmm. And so at that mission trip, I learned a deeper feeling for God. I learned how much my physical body could go through in extreme heat. You go way beyond what you think. And it's a good thing. Yeah. But what I really learned was, if you're available, and he'll tell you what to do, he'll take care of you, and he'll walk you through it. And it changed my life forever. I decided that I'm never going back to who I was. I had anger issues so bad, and I'd come home and yell at the kids or yell at my wife because of the stress that I was going through every day. And one of the things that God has done to me is He's made me understand how to deal with things. That there's a bigger picture, it's all going to be done, it's all laid out for you. And if I stress out every day about the coronavirus, if I wake up in the morning and stress out about the coronavirus or where the finances are going to be, it would drive me nuts. But now I don't care. And it's not that I don't care, it's just I can't do anything. Yeah. You know, it's between God's painted a picture for us, and He's made a plan for us. And whatever in the end is, the outcome is, that's what it's going to be. So that whole Nicaragua trip really kind of opened me up to that. Mm-hmm. So it was a little while later when in church on Sunday, I did communion for the first time, and I felt comfortable doing it. I wanted to do it, so I did it. And I think it was that Sunday night. I've heard people talk about hearing God's voice audibly, I had a routine. I get in my truck, I go to work, and on the way to work, I talk to God. And him and I, just like I was talking to a brother, a friend, or whatever. And I just kept having this voice in my head that said, you know, you need to get baptized. And so Tuesday, youth group, so we volunteer youth group. And so Tuesday I come in and I go to the bathroom, I go back to the urinal, I'm standing in front of the urinal, and there's this piece of paper. And I'm reading through the monthly events, and I think it was the 23rd was baptism. And I turn around, wash my hands, I'm like, okay, we're getting baptized. Yeah. And so I told that, later that night I told my wife, I said, yeah, I'm gonna get baptized. And she goes, and Al.
Women know everything.
And she's like, well, no, me and your sister will talk about it. You did, communion. So I figured that was the next step.
Yeah.
So I kept it quiet. And then Thursday, I'm taking Kaylana to the airport to go to Denver. And that's when I told her, I said, the Sunday I'm going to get baptized. And she's like, that's Easter. And I'm like, no. Easter's the following week. And she gets on her phone, and she's messing with her phone, and she goes, oh, Dad, that's Easter. And she goes, do you realize that Trent and I got baptized 2 years ago on Easter, and Mom got baptized last year on Easter? Mm-hmm. So the three of us got baptized at Life Church 360 on Easter in a 3-year stretch. And it wasn't planned. Like I said, they got baptized on Easter, and I didn't care. I mean, I didn't know the date. It isn't important to me. Theirs, it wasn't important to me. But now all of a sudden it's mine. So, but anyways, it became an importance to me now to know that the three of us all got baptized. And so I asked her, would you baptize me? And she said, yeah. Well, she has been the biggest influence. My wife and my kids both have been big influences on me and church. But Kaylana, for some reason, has been one of the biggest influences to bring God into my heart. So that Easter I got baptized. And I've heard his voice audibly a few times. When we go through some financial situations as owning your own business, I just ask him, help me, guide me, lead me somewhere. And the second time I heard his voice, he just said, son, I got your back. And I don't say everything is perfect and everything, hopefully one day, nothing's ever going to be perfect, but I don't know if it's knowing that he's on my side, knowing that he's protecting me or watching out for me, or what it is. I can't explain it, but I get up in the morning and I go to work and I live my life and I don't worry about it. I don't freak out. I don't have this huge temper. And it's because of him. Yeah. He's on my shoulder. So to shorten it up a little bit, basically, I'm never turning around. I'm all in. Whatever God has for me, whatever he wants me to do, I'm willing to do it.
Yeah. So that's awesome. I think the incredible thing is, from my perspective and from seeing you, working for you before you had a relationship with Christ, it was hard, and I would try to read you scripture in the morning, and one morning you even threatened to kick me out of your truck. And every day going to work with you, listen to Howard Stern all day long. Right. Howard Stern. And for a new believer, because I was a new believer at the time, and that was hard to listen to every single day, and just to get made fun of for faith. And one of the things that I prayed for you for was, God, how do you get somebody's heart that, from the outside world's perspective, looks like they have everything together? Right. Like, you had the money, you had the cars, you had the house. And so, how do I reach him? How do you reach somebody's heart from, that has the wealth and has the money and has the things? Like, how do you reach somebody's heart? Because my life was different, because I had absolutely nothing when I gave my life to Jesus. Right. I had a backpack with dirty clothes in it and, needles and pipes and stuff like that. But so it's amazing, God can reach us no matter where we're at. And we've heard over the last, few weeks, interviews of people from all different lifestyles and all different backgrounds. And God can reach us no matter what, no matter where we're at. And it just reminds me of my favorite verse, Jeremiah 29:11, which is, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope. And that was one of the verses that just really stuck out to me when I first started reading the Bible, and something that I live with today. And it's God has a plan for each and every person.
I think the important thing to remember that I've learned through it is it doesn't matter if you grew up rich, it doesn't matter if you grew up poor, it doesn't matter if you've gone to prison or you haven't. You still are able to make the mistakes, make the sin, and be that, for lack of a better word, stupid person, no matter what your background is. But the ironic part is no matter what your background is, you end up here, the same place, in a church, believing in God. And that's the only thing that's really important. You know, it doesn't matter where you come from or what you do, what your ethnicity is or what your beliefs are. When you end up here, when you accept Him in your heart, allow Him to do work on you, you'll end up in the same place.
Yeah, which is incredible. And the cool thing is what I really want to get across to students is you don't have to live a life like mine. You don't have to live a life like his. You don't have to go, do drugs, do alcohol. You don't have to do any of that. I interviewed my grandpa last week, who's never done any of that, and he's lived an incredible life. He's led, a church. He was on missions for 25 years and has an amazing life and an amazing relationship with God, and he's happy, and he's full of joy, and he's one of the happiest people I've ever met. And so you don't have to go down the roads that we've gone down and done some of the things that we've done, and it can start now. And so as we leave here, let's just pray. So dear Lord Father, I just come to you right now. God, I thank you for Ben and God, his transformation. God, I thank you that you love each and every person. And God, I thank you that you sent your son Jesus to die for us, to give us this freedom and give us this hope. And God, I just pray that you would use this interview today to reach thousands of people. And God, we just trust you in your wonderful, most precious name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.